from these stupid things.
Oh,
Oh, I'm on the top.
okay.
I'm on top. I'm starting this time.
Okay, go
I'm in
for
the
it.
position of power, Emily. Um, hello, everyone. Welcome to our singular daily masterclass. Hopefully,
Hmm.
we'll have some people showing up with us soon. Um, my name is Seth. I am one of the teachers at Myes's Milan schools, Milano Meravigli, a big school in the center of the city. I'm from the United States, and I've been in Milan for about 4 years, and that's good for me for now. We're talking a lot about ourselves today. We'll learn a lot. How about
Hmm.
below? Can you introduce yourselves to us? Who are you?
Okay. I feel very judged right now for being the second picture, but my name is Emily, and I am from the UK, originally from a city called Wolverhampton, which is in the middle of England, and I'm also at the Meravigli School. I have been in Italy maybe about 9, 10 months, just under a year, so still quite new in some ways. And I think, as you said, we'll talk more about ourselves during the session, of course.
Yeah. I
And
see that we have a few people watching, so um, we want to encourage you guys to, to type as much as you can, and we try our best to grab your comments and bring them into our conversation, share them on the
mhm.
screen. So please do feel free, because it's especially at this level with masterclass, we really want you guys to be talking as much as you can. So
Mhm.
um, share your stories, answer the questions, anything you want. Um, if you hear us say some things that questions you have about the words we're using, um, please jump in and share as much as you can with us. So, all right, that's that.
Okay, perfect. We look forward to hearing from you guys. Okay, so we are talking in general about bucket lists today. We have a few people already. Hi, hi.
Rome, I love Rome. Rome was on my bucket list, and now I've been to Rome many times. Hello, Treviso.
Claudia.
Chloe, nice. Nice to see you guys. Oh, and one more so far. Gianni from Padova. Oh, 3 years. Nice. Good for you. Good
Okay,
for you.
perfect. Yeah. Okay,
Nice.
it's nice to meet you all. Okay.
Hmm.
So what are bucket lists? What are we talking about? You mentioned Rome was on your bucket list, Seth. Do you want to explain the
Hmm.
concept?
So a bucket list is basically just now. Some people, Emily and I were discussing this before the lesson. Like, do we have bucket lists? And some people do have a very actual physical a list that they have created.
Mm-hmm.
I do not per se. I think I have things that I want to do with places I'd like to visit, things I'd like to eat or whatever, and that's basically what a bucket list is. The bucket list is the things that you think that you want to do during your
Mm-hmm.
life. Um, so for me, to visit Rome it was something I always wanted to do. And now, well, it's been many years now, but I was in Rome 5 years ago for the first time. Um, but yeah, so a bucket list is just a list of things that you want to do. And some of them might be even like really, really, excuse me, like really, really far fetched ideas, maybe things that you can't do. um,
Mm-hmm.
but just things you really want to do, or really big dreams that you have. Like, I have a suspicion that maybe on Emily's list would be something like publishing a book of poetry or a novel or something.
Yes.
Uh, but just like for me, publishing music would be on my
Mm-hmm.
bucket list. Just things that we want to do with our lives, places to visit,
Yeah.
places to see. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think some of them can be closer to life goals, maybe things that are very important to you and how you want to live your life. And
Hmm.
some of it can just be one off experiences, it can be once in a lifetime things. Maybe if someone wants to go on a cruise, for example,
Hmm.
it may, but it probably won't affect the rest of your life. It's just one experience that you want to have. But maybe it depends on the individual which type is more common on
Hmm.
the list. But
I think
I,
the
like
important
you, Seth,
as
I don't have a list.
yeah, and
But
I was just thinking though that like maybe an important distinction is like because you said a once in a lifetime thing,
mm-hmm,
which is a really a cool event. I mean, something amazing.
mm,
But the bucket list is the idea that you're also like planning to try and do these things.
yeah,
Whereas if you just maybe if this weekend you sit down with your friends and you plan a trip and you realize, wow, this trip is going to be amazing, that's not necessarily has nothing to do with a bucket list unless you're planning specific places that you have previously thought, I want to
mm-hmm,
go to this place, I want to do this thing. So the bucket
mm-hmm,
list is not just sort of random life occurring and bringing you things. It's rather that
mm-hmm.
you're planning them, you want to do
Yeah,
them.
definitely. Yeah, okay. And I think for some people, there can be a real motivation to do
Hmm.
that, whether they set themselves a time frame or maybe they have an illness that means they will have reduced mobility or something in the future.
Hmm.
So you can often have that kind of motivation.
Yeah.
So we have a physical bucket here. If anyone's not sure of the meaning of the word.
Our DOS has asked us, can being back at work be on my bucket list? Being back at this point, because we don't know when we might be
Mm-hmm.
going back to actual physical office, um, we might put this on our bucket list. It is
Mm-hmm.
we would like for this to happen.
Yes,
Given the current situation, uh, this could be on your bucket list. Yes.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And anyone else watching, please let us know. Do you have a bucket list? And
Yeah.
what do you have on your bucket list if you
Yeah.
do have one? Or any goals, any dreams that you have at the moment?
Yeah. I think that even this phrase bucket list is kind of new in English,
Mm.
no? I mean, when I was a child, I don't recall hearing this word, but in the past maybe like 10 or 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
people talking about their bucket list. Um, and I don't even know where it comes from, to be honest. Like
No.
why?
Um,
Maybe I'll look this up while you can continue it. I'm gonna look on
yeah,
another web page to see if I can find
sure.
where bucket list comes from.
Because I know there was a film about 10, 15 years ago, so I don't know if it's
Hmm.
originated with the film or if it existed anyway. Um, and again, I don't know if it has a relation to the physical bucket. You can imagine people putting pieces of paper into a bucket and pulling one out
Hmm.
to do next. We have some more comments. So we have Gianni who wants to cross Siberia by train. Yeah,
That would be a
that would
bucket
be
list. Yes.
amazing. That is definitely worthy of a bucket list. And yeah, and welcome, Paula. Yeah, nice to see you. And Marco. So Marco has never written down a bucket list.
I just learned something.
Okay, what did you learn?
So, to explain the bucket list, I need to first also, as soon as I say this, Emily, you're going to be like,
Yeah,
it
I
comes from
will.
another expression we have in English, which is to kick the bucket.
Ah, I
And
see.
to kick the bucket in English means to die.
Seth, your
So,
spelling continues today. We've had some kick the bucket with the.
goodness, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Emily and I have done, so this is the third webinar we've done today, and my spelling has in each webinar becomes worse and worse. Sorry. To
It adds to the
kick
experience.
the, oh gosh, now I'm writing the kick the bucket. To
Mm,
kick the bucket. There it is. Okay. So to kick the bucket means to die, but in like you wouldn't say, "Oh goodness,"
uh,
you would say, my mother died,"
mhm,
right? To kick the bucket is sort of a light way of saying something died. Like when you were a child, you had a pet fish, and the fish is not, you don't feel a huge connection to this fish. So if the fish
mhm,
dies, you're not destroyed. Like if your mother or father died, this is going to be a difficult experience. But if your fish dies, maybe you think, okay, I'm sad, but my fish kicked the bucket. It died. So to kick the bucket means to die. And so the bucket list is the idea of things that you want to do before you kick the bucket. So things to do before you die.
mhm.
There it is.
Yeah, and yeah. So Paula
Good,
has
very good, Paul.
survived the virus.
We could have this be things to do. Yeah, because if I shouldn't even say this. I was going to say if the virus is difficult for you, maybe the virus will cause you to kick the bucket, and then you will not achieve your bucket list.
Yeah, can not kicking the bucket be on the bucket list, or is that contradictory?
Now it's getting confusing.
Yeah, it becomes yeah, your head is going in circles, I think, at this
Yes.
point.
Nice. So there's where it comes from. The etymology of kick of the bucket list comes from things to do before you die.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
great. Okay, so now because this is a webinar, we can't watch the trailer for the film The Bucket List. Maybe some of you know this film. Maybe some of you have seen it. I haven't seen it myself. Seth, have you seen it?
I haven't, no. But I imagine it's
So, yeah,
probably about someone trying to live their life in a full
I think
way or
so.
something like
Yes,
this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are lots of similar films which talk about things to do before you die, before
Uh,
a time period.
it seems
So
maybe, have you seen the movie? Because very moving makes me think probably Marco has seen the movie. Oh,
yeah.
would you recommend it? Should we see it? We have plenty of time to watch movies. So,
Shall we add it to our bucket list?
yeah.
See, that's interesting actually, because I don't have a bucket list. As I said, I do have a films to watch list and I have a books to read list. So
So you have
that
a
maybe
book bucket
shows.
list and a movie
I
bucket
do.
list.
Yeah, maybe that shows where my priorities are.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe people can have more specific lists.
Yeah.
And also, of course, on a daily basis, people have a to-do list, activities
Yeah.
that you need to
Yeah.
do. But hopefully, that's normally not on the same scale as a bucket list.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Let's hope. Okay, so we talked a lot about number one here. We talked about bucket lists and kick the bucket. What? So, if you have any thoughts about the other questions, please let us know.
Mhm.
I will read the others and then we can talk about them. So, how realistic is it to write a bucket list and then actually do the activities listed? Then, why is it important to have goals and dreams to aim for? And do you think bucket lists are helpful or just a sad reminder of all the things you haven't done? So, some big questions
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Let's brace ourselves. Let's take a moment to think about them.
Maybe because these are big big questions. So maybe Emily, if you and I want, we can just maybe start chatting about them.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, it looks like seven people watching.
Mm-hmm.
if you guys want to write some answers, responses, because maybe these are responses that take a moment to to type and put together, but please share them, and then we will grab them as they appear. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I was thinking as you're reading, because I don't consider myself to have a bucket list, but I
Mm.
living in Italy for me was a goal. I wanted to live
Mm-hmm.
in Italy, and I lived here. I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago. I spent 1 year in Italy, and I really loved living here. And when I left, I wanted to come back to live, not just to visit, but to live here. And and when I look back at the time in between the first time I lived here and coming back, I was making decisions that would get me here. So maybe I didn't realize that I was really working. Well, sometimes I was very, very intentional in trying to come here. And even before that, I always wanted to live in Europe. I'm American, and all of the things I really love, music, ballet, literature, so many of these things come from Europe. And I worked very hard. University, I wanted to come for university to France, but it didn't work out that way because of money and trying to plan. It was difficult, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think often traveling or living somewhere else are big, uh, big goals, big bucket list dreams, because you have to plan so much for them and you have to anticipate them so much that it becomes a big thing.
Yeah.
So I think we
We
have
have a
some
few
some
things. Yeah.
comments. Yeah.
Paula says
No.
it's vital to have dreams, but sad to have a bucket list. I know some people who just continually are saying, add that to the bucket list, add that to the bucket
Mm,
list.
yeah.
And I think, well, you're never going to do those things. But
Mm,
um, yeah, if your bucket list gets too long, that can become sad.
definitely.
Paula asks if I regret coming back to Italy. I do not, Paula. Many people ask me this. You wanted to come to, I know that maybe for economic reasons and things, Italy is not always the best choice for some people, but for me, I wanted to be here. I'm really happy being here. I don't
Mm,
plan to leave. So um, I like Italy. Yeah. And then the last one, Johnny, similar to Paula, uh, it's extremely important to have goals and dreams. Yeah, to live our life in a captivating way, for sure. It's true. It's
mhm.
true.
Yeah, maybe you don't just think about the moment that you're in, but you think about, like you said, what decisions you made in the past or what you want to do in the future. Maybe it helps with knowing yourself better. Um,
Hmm.
you can work out the best thing for you. We also have Marco, who has just said maybe writing down a list of goals. We both click at the same time. A list of goals
Hmm.
can be useful because it helps you to be focused on your plans and dreams. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, I know for myself, then I always at New Year's, I always write a list of resolutions or some
Hmm.
kind of goals that I want to, even if I don't actually do them, I want to work towards them or to think about them some more. That's that kind of thing, to kind of get further on a process with
Yeah.
doing something. And maybe that kind of list is shorter term or easier to manage than a whole life bucket list if you think about years rather than your whole life.
I remember my sister and I, for several years, maybe for 5 or 6 years in a row, um, we never really. The first time we did this, it was not even really intentional, but then it became something really helpful that I think I should do again.
Mm.
1 year, I don't remember why we did it, but we were together and we just like we sort of looked at our life like right at that moment, and
Oh.
and we said, we like, and we just kind of thought like, what's my, and like, just what's my life now? And we wrote like, my job is this, I'm making this much money, I live here, like my best friend is this person, relationship, like just the situation of my life. What are the things that are bothering me, that are giving me a lot of difficulties right now? And then also the idea of like, in the next 6 months, in the next year. And we did and for like 5 or 6 years, we would look at the previous years and then do a new one. And it was really interesting because what we found almost every year was that the things that we wrote down that were the big difficulties and problems, we almost a year later, very rarely, we didn't even remember that it was a problem. So something
Yeah.
that seemed like a very difficult, um, a difficult situation that we were in that seemed just unmanageable. A year later, we had trouble remembering that it, like, what was I
Wow.
talking about? I don't even remember that
Yeah.
situation, which made us really realize how much we sit on our difficult moments. Um, but it was a really interesting thing for us to see, and then also to see the things that remain consistent, like friends, certain friends that remained consistent, or yeah, it was a helpful thing. We always say that we should keep doing it because it really did sort of help us from year to year. But then I moved away and we lost the habit. But
Yeah. So
we have a few
I
more
think
things. Let's look real quick. Marco says, I think writing down a list of goals. Oops, we saw this one, I think. No.
we did.
And then one more from John. Need to have a bucket list helps to open your mind. I would agree with that. Yeah, especially if you put things on your list that maybe are outside of your comfort zone or of your normal experiences, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Can you guys who are watching us, are there anything? Remember with the master class, like you guys, we don't have to stick really close to this topic. So if you have, things that in your past, or even, like I shared about my sister and I, a sort of type of bucket list experience. If you guys have anything like that, or even just really fantastic, like Johnny's thing, if you've done something that affected you a lot and changed you, please feel free to share anything like that. It helps make our conversation more interesting and shape where we're going. So
Absolutely. Yeah. There's yeah, I think if I think back to New Year's resolutions, which is probably the closest thing I get to a bucket list, apart from, as I said, film or book to read, to watch lists, then I think often it's easy to do one or two things and then lose that momentum, uh, lose that motivation to do things, especially if it's over a long time period and you have less energy to think about things.
Yeah.
We have Paula also.
Flexible, adaptive. Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
I think she had a longer comment before that as well.
Oops. Sorry. Yeah.
So great merit in being a bit fatalist as things change very suddenly. Yes, as we are experiencing at the moment, absolutely these days. Just one thing there, Paula. Just the spelling of fatalist is with an I, and normally for the adjective we say fatalistic, just to differentiate it from the person. So a person is a fatalist if they imagine everything is going to be terrible. Very similar to a pessimist there, but fatalistic is the adjective to describe someone. Which I'll just write the spelling in the chat for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think for me, rather than being fatalistic, I prefer to be realistic, maybe only have a few different goals, a few different ideas, rather than, as we said earlier, say, um, let's put it on the bucket list for everything that you might want to do. So rather than having 100 things, let's have 10 things, and be aware that it may happen or it may not happen depending on your actions, your decisions. Um, but but definitely things do change very quickly. Sometimes we're in control, sometimes we're not in control, and it's
Mhm.
important to be aware of that, I think. Yeah.
I'm thinking of my mom, who I think she takes this from the movie The Sound of Music, but but there's probably many different ways to say this expression. But it sort of, because fatalism in English tends to be kind of a negative sort of thing
Mhm.
of expecting bad things. I think in
Yeah.
Italian it might be a little different somehow, but my mom and many people often talk about things like. Well, my mother says it to me a lot, like if I have a situation where my life is changing and I'm not sure what's happening, my mom will often say, when God closes a door, Emily is
Yeah.
smiling, when God closes a door, somewhere he opens a window. So it's a kind of a fatalistic idea in the sense of, well, fate, the idea that things are going to be happening. So if something changes here, then something is potentially opening over here.
Mhm.
So, um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
And I
think
tend to think this way
my
because of my mother.
yeah. So my version of that is similar. It's just the phrase swings and roundabouts.
Ah,
I
very
just say
nice.
swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
Everything is always changing.
That's
uh,
it, Marco.
Julie Andrews. We love Julie Andrews
That's a
here.
good movie to watch. I might watch The Sound of Music.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
just so
think
all of you guys
musicals are
know,
good.
in Italian, do any of you know The Sound of Music? What it? I mean, I know you know it, but the Italian translation is completely different
Oh, really?
from. In Italian, it's called like All Together with Passion. It's
Wow.
what is it, like tutti insieme appassionatamente or something like that. So everyone together passionately.
Okay. So that can be describing the singing, maybe.
Yeah, I
But
think, but we call it The Sound of
yeah,
Music.
okay.
So
Interesting.
there it is.
Yeah.
um,
Um,
but that's a good movie to watch right now. It's
it
lifts you up.
is. Yeah, I think I said in one of our other sessions today, I watched the Wizard of Oz yesterday, which is
Beautiful. I
another
love it.
another good one, another good one for the
For
current
sure.
moment. Or yeah, any kind of early early musical, any vintage musical, I think is what we need right now.
Yes.
Let's add that to the bucket list if you haven't seen any of those films.
Well, I'm just thinking now maybe I should make a coronavirus bucket list of things to
Ah,
do before the coronavirus kicks the bucket. Let's say it that way.
hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Things to do before the end of March.
Yeah, and but the problem is with that is it could easily become taken over by boring things like admin or
Oh, that's
other
true.
things that you have been have
I don't
been
want
putting
those
off,
things. Yes, that's true.
which don't belong on a bucket list.
Oh yeah, pay my taxes. I have to file my
Uh,
American taxes by April
oh
15th.
no,
Ugh. But that's a good
ugh,
thing to get done. It's not that
it
difficult.
is.
So.
Yeah, maybe not one that you have been eagerly waiting for.
No, no.
Mm. Okay. I don't know if we have any other comments about these questions, or shall we move on?
Yeah, let's go forward. Why
Let's go
not?
forward. That reminded me before you finished, but you just said, let's go forward. It reminds me of the end of one of my favourite poems,
Uh-huh.
which is by a not very well known poet called Richard Sykin. And he ends his first collection saying, "We are all going forward, none of us are going back," which is just
Ah, that's beautiful.
something I think about a lot. Just reminded me of that. Okay. Anyway, so here we have So a British newspaper conducted a survey of its readers' bucket lists. So, what do you think are the top 10 activities? What are some common activities that people want to do?
Um, well, looking at the pictures,
Mm,
like learning how to dance, like a particular, and here, like it looks like they're dancing the
yeah.
tango, but learning a specific type of dance or taking dance lessons, something like that. Um, Certainly traveling things, this
Hmm.
looks like doing a safari in Africa. I feel like in the United States, like Machu Picchu is a really common uh, destination right now. People want to go to South America and climb up to Machu Picchu.
Hmm.
Um, for many Americans, Paris is a real destination for Americans, but
Mm,
for us, it's quite a bit farther. It's a
yeah.
bit more difficult to get to than for a European.
Hmm.
But Paris is a big destination for Americans. Um, I don't know. Like, I would think maybe learning a language could be a bucket list. Johnny
Mm,
got one of them, right? Being an F1 driver. My dad, I would say, had on his, not specifically an F1 driver, but my dad wanted to drive a race car. So like these really high powered cars and
mm,
on the closed track so he could go really fast. And he finally did do it. And he said it was terrifying because
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
fast. And actually, the first time he did it, he drove the car with a driver, like
Hmm.
with a professional who was, but my
Wow.
dad was driving.
Okay.
And so not going very fast because, and then after he drove, the driver said, like, do you want to switch? And he said, I'll drive the way that we're driving, like in an actual race. And my dad thought, yeah, like, it's no problem. And he said it was terrifying because of the
Yeah.
forces, the gravity that you feel. But um, I do not have that desire to be in a race
No,
car.
no, I don't either. It's Yeah, I also don't really have any strong desire to, go on a safari or somewhere with lots of amazing animals. I mean, it does sound incredible, but personally, it's maybe not something that I am drawn to so much.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have some more. You have Paola
Yeah.
traveling, learning something, falling in love, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I'm sure people do put that on their bucket list. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it's something you can control the way you can control other
Yeah.
things on your bucket list, but yeah,
Be
I'm
fluent. Yeah, for
curious.
sure.
Mhm.
And Marco has one too. Riding an elephant, visiting
Yeah,
remote and uncontaminated places. Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Visiting pristine environments and things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what they said. I think we talked about several of these already. Okay, do you want
Yeah.
to read those?
Yeah. So these were these from this survey. So having a holiday home. So that's really nice as a bucket list thing because that's a long-term plan. That's not just
Mhm.
go on a vacation, but having a holiday home, learn a new language, go on holiday to the Maldives, buy a house. That's a bucket list of mine. Swim
Mhm.
with
Yes.
dolphins, drive Route 66, um, ride a hot air balloon. I do not want to ride in a hot air balloon. Oh my gosh. Simon, we are
Uh,
so glad that we have been able to help you pull
yes.
this out of your bucket list.
Yes, you
Pull it
could
out
you
of your
could tick
bucket.
that off.
Cross it off. um, See the pyramid. Pyramid. I would love to see the pyramids. That is
Yeah,
really interesting to
yeah,
me.
that would be amazing.
Casinos in Vegas. I have once landed. I went once to California, um,
Mm.
and I live on the east side of the United States, and California is on the west, so it's very far. And the plane landed in Las Vegas, and I I saw, we call it the Strip. So the Strip is this street where all of the casinos are, these really crazy buildings. And it's in the desert. Like, it's a weird city because it's just this big desert and there's a city in the middle. Um, it's very strange. So even from far away in the airplane, you can see Las Vegas. It's really interesting. Um, Having seen from the air the strip, I think that I have seen what I want to see of Las Vegas. I would go back. I mean, if I was with, friends who wanted to go to Las Vegas, I would go. But as a specific place that I would plan a vacation, or for me, maybe
Mm.
because I'm American and it's an American city, it's not that interesting for me. And finally, visit Venice. I have been to Venice and I love Venice.
Mm. Yeah, I think you can tell this is a British survey.
A British
That's
survey. Yes. Paula
yes,
just asked this. Who did they
yes.
ask? So this is for the British.
Mhm. Okay, don't judge us. I didn't answer this. And also, it may have been a few years ago now, because these surveys only happen every 10 years or so. So it might be a few years ago, because I'm not sure the Maldives is as popular now as it was a few years ago.
Right.
Um, because maybe now it would probably be, I don't know where it would be.
Nice. Get married in
Wow.
Las Vegas just like Elvis and Marilyn. That could be a very
Okay.
exciting experience.
Dressed like Elvis and Marilyn. Could marry Marilyn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, that you can tell. I think with the American-based ones, Route 66 again is an American road, and the casino. I think they're both kind of
I know
British people
Paula.
wanting
I know
to marry.
Paula. But I
Yeah,
think,
don't worry.
I mean, any country that you asked for general things, you definitely are going to see variations because of culture and, um, I mean, even thinking about, I think if you and I made a bucket list about what to do in Italy, I think you and I would have very different lists, because for you, Italy is a neighbor. But for me, Italy is a country that's very far away, at least, thinking of the United States. And um, like my parents, my dad wanted to go to Pisa so badly. Because Pisa, for Americans, Pisa is like, I think when Americans think of Italy, they probably think of like monuments and things. They think of the Leaning Tower. They probably think in a general way of Venice, and they think of the Dome of St. Peter's, or the Colosseum. Even before that, the Colosseum. Um, and my dad, the last time they came, oh, it was really like, he was like, we need to go to Pisa, 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 Pisa. And I was like, it's cool, Dad, but it's not. I mean, it's very beautiful. Have you been to Pisa, Emily?
I haven't. No.
It's nice, and actually what's more impressive to me about Pisa is that it's a whole complex. It's not just this tower. There's a cathedral
Oh,
inside of a huge, they call it the square of miracles. But it's a big area, and this medieval square. And frankly, when you walk into the square, the entire square is very beautiful as a whole, and the tower kind of becomes, not, I mean, you recognize that it's leaning, but
mhm.
the tower is part of a very beautiful thing. And when I went there with my parents, because we did go because my dad was insisting.
Sure.
When we walked into this big piazza, that was the first thing my dad said. He was like, what are these other buildings? And I said,
Yeah.
well, it's the cathedral and the baptistry, and there's like a cemetery, but it's like it's like a big building, and you have to go
Mhm.
inside and things. And yeah, he was like, he just thought it was a tower, because when we see pictures,
Mhm.
we see the tower.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
anyways,
I
a bit of
suppose
an aside. Sorry.
the interesting thing about goals, you never know what they end up being, how you have to adapt to the
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, an interesting point. It's, with the Egyptian pyramids as well. You can see the pyramids, but you can't just go and see them and go home. It's part of a whole experience that you have
Yeah.
in Egypt as well, a country.
Right.
So
Right.
you maybe get more than you expected in different
Well,
ways,
there's
positive and
there's going to be a lot of cultural differences to adapt to and experience, and
negative. Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And just like maybe similar to what I think it was Gianni said before about taking a train across Siberia, maybe there are things within that as well that are more cultural and culture shocks that happen.
Johnny, if you're still with us, how long? Or wait, did you do that? That's something. No, you didn't do that yet. But
I
do you
think
know
it was bucket list.
how long does it take? Because that's something often we don't consider. We think of like you said, going to Egypt to see the pyramids. There's a journey involved in that, so it's not just like, oh, here are the pyramids, but you have to get there, and
Yeah.
sometimes the journey can be a long part of arriving at a particular location. So,
Hmm.
um, nice, very nice, Paula. The epitome of how we are not capable of making things straight.
I like that.
Yeah, so John, like Johnny saw going across Russia or Siberia. I mean, imagine being. That sounds to me like a really cool experience too.
Mm,
But
yeah,
I
I would love to.
imagine it's kind of like right now being in your house for a
Yeah.
month. You, I think a lot of people I'm talking to, everyone's starting to try and think like, how am I going to use this time? And the same thing in a train. If you're in a train, you're moving, but you still have all that time. And it
Hmm.
could be a really neat experience of using the time and using what you're seeing. And uh, yeah,
Yeah. At least the landscape's changing then, which maybe
yeah,
we don't have so much at the moment.
no, we do not.
Unfortunately.
I have
Yeah.
that question. How are you guys at home? Because probably being quarantined during a particular during the new COVID-19 virus was probably not on your bucket list. But how are you at home? How are you coping with these, with the fact that we have to stay inside so much? Are you making new plans for yourself? Are you making a temporary bucket list, things that you're going goals for this month while we're all at home doing our work? And what are you guys doing at home? Maybe we can help each other with some more
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah. We always need some more ideas. So
Yeah.
don't involve screens, especially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the questions here are just the things that we've already talked about, really.
Yeah. Do you
But
want, because we have just a few minutes, that there were those
yeah,
questions at the end? Do you want to go to
yes,
those?
let's do that. Yeah,
Because those were nice ways to end up. And
they were absolutely.
yeah.
So we have some interesting language as well here.
Hmm.
So um, maybe again, if I read through these and you have any opinions about them in the comments, please
Yeah.
give them to us. So, what is something you've always fancied doing? Number two, do you have any burning ambitions? Number three, is traveling something that is up your street? If not, what is? And number four, finish the sentence, I would sell my soul to be able
Oof.
to.
That's a strong one.
Very
Wow.
strong, very strong. Um, yeah, I'm not sure I would sell my soul for anything really.
Well, these are interesting. So all four of these basically ways of expressing I want to do this thing, right?
Mhm.
But with lots of different nuance in here. I really like the second one, the burning
Mm,
ambition. I just like the
me
idea
too.
of burning. Um, and I'll
Yeah.
for this one again go to right now. And Emily, you know this, but I'm a musician and I like to write music. And I've in the past few months I've been writing music, and I really hope I'm going to try to publish my music, and which I would say would be a bucket list thing. But
Mhm.
right now I have a lot of time, and so while I'm at home, I'm writing music. I'm using the time, and it's becoming a bit more. This desire is becoming more ardent and burning, um,
Mhm.
because I have the time and I'm working on it, and I would say that it's becoming quite a bit of a burning ambition because I have the
Hmm.
time to commit to it right now. Yeah, it's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Do you have a burning ambition?
Um, y- yeah, I mean, probably similar to you, something related to writing, because I in the past have written more than I do at the moment, either poetry or prose. I've written both in the past. But yeah, I would like to get back into that. I would like to use this time to really think about ideas and actually follow through on them,
Yeah,
actually, rather than because this is probably the same for some of you watching as well. It's very easy to have ideas for things and a lot harder to actually do them, especially if it is something like writing, which is such a process, such
hmm
a long experience. Um, yeah, I don't think other than that I have any burning ambitions. Yeah, it's hard to think of one that if it doesn't come to you immediately, I think for that intensity.
yeah, yeah. Because that's quite intense sounding. A burning
Mhm.
desire, a burning ambition. So the next number three, like up your street. I don't think that in my English, my American English, that we use that very often. Does it exist
Okay.
also up your alley? I feel like I want to say
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
absolutely. Up your alley.
I
Yeah,
think I would use up your
those.
alley. An
And
alley
and
just
those
being a
are
little street, right? So
yeah, exactly. And that one I would say is less about your personal ambition and more saying something that is something you would probably enjoy
yeah,
or something that you generally enjoy.
yeah,
So, for me, maybe dramatic films are up my street. In the past I have enjoyed dramatic films. I will probably enjoy another one. Yeah. So it's
yeah.
about a category that you enjoy.
Yeah, we have two people who've shared some stuff. Paola says, I would
Great.
sell my soul. That's
Oh,
super
wow.
strong, Paola. Be careful. Sell my soul to make a movie. Ah, so you want to be an
Wow.
actress. Paola
Wow.
wants to be in a. Do you want to be
Or a
famous?
director.
Yeah, to make it, or yeah, to be the act, like to act in the movie or to direct the film? That's a good question. And then we have also Johnny. Apart from trying to improve my English, to improve my skills in photography. Nice, very nice.
Nice.
Yeah, well, right now, I don't know where all of you are, but here we're both in Milan, and going outside is really strange right now because
It
everything is
is, yes.
empty. I
Yes.
don't know if you're how
Queues.
much in your community, in your town, how much you're going out. But I did find I went out yesterday and was walk because I had to go to our school and also to the dentist. And to be in the city when it was so empty, um, it was really interesting because I don't know, I saw the buildings in a different way, especially the old buildings, because there are no people there, and the people give you the context of today, you know. But
Mhm.
seeing like the Duomo of Milano is really this, this Gothic building, but looking at it with no people, it's kind of easier for you to think, goodness, this building looked like this 500 years ago, this
Yeah.
building, but there are no people around it. I would think in Rome, Paula says she's in Rome, and I would think Rome would be even more of a city where you could stand in a particular place and really put yourself back into another time.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean the aerial shots, the aerial photos are amazing as well. If you see
Mhm.
how empty things look from the
Yeah.
air as well, I think there are a lot of photos of cities in China where it makes a huge difference.
hmm Oh, yeah. So Johnny says in Padova they also have to stay in. So
Mm,
I think in the neighborhood. Well, when I went out yesterday, I was on my bike, and there are a lot of police around and things. But just, I think that they presume that you're not not bugging anyone, just going from
yeah.
here to there. I had my what is it called? My autocertificazione. I had my document, and just in case. But it was good to get out. If you can take a little
Mm,
walk, it's it's good.
yeah, it's necessary, I think, every couple of days at least.
Yeah. So I think it's time for us to be finishing up, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, and thank you all for your comments,
Yeah.
and we hope that maybe if you are trying to fill the time with things, with activities, we hope you manage to do that. You manage to find lots of things to do to
Yeah.
keep yourself
Make your
occupied.
bucket list. Make your bucket
Yes,
list.
make your bucket list. Tell us next time if
Yeah.
we teach you again. Yeah,
And thank you guys for chatting
thank
with
you.
us. It makes everything much more interesting and
It does.
when we have people who are responding. So thank you guys for helping, for conversing with us in the best way you could.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
we'll be
Have a
back in the
lovely,
classroom soon.
yeah. Have a lovely afternoon, guys.
See you
Bye.
guys. Bye bye.